You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian and Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means it is Monday. It is time to commence operations here on the old OB. Yes, it is time once again for your bi-weekly source for all things options related. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the OptionsInsider.com. Hope everybody had a great week. Really a great weekend. Hope you're ready and raring to go. Kick off another week with some great content in store for you. Of course, if you want to check out everything, including the pro Q&As, including the options oddities, including, oh man, we're coming up against it. It is the 28th now. Man. Clock is ticking. Get your name in the hat for the April. Man, you folks are just cleaning out the vault. Luckily, the vault is seemingly unending, so don't worry. We got lots of goodies in there for you. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is where the place you go to get access to that entire bounty. Man, it is quite the bounty. Check out the pro if you haven't done so already. Do so before the end of the month. That'll get your name in the hat. An extra fun bonus for you. Maybe you too can win a pro trading crate. TheOptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go as we learn who's joining us on the old Monday edition of the old OB. We go out to the hallowed lands of St. Charles, where rumor has it I may have been myself this weekend. I may have seen with my own two eyes the hallowed halls of the legendary St. Charles Costco, as well as Skippy's Gyros and Lemonade and all the other fun sites that are St. Charles out there for my triannual trip, let's say, to the Kane County Fairgrounds. Intriguing stuff to be had out there. But I did not see Uncle Mike. He doesn't grace us with his presence at such events. But we are joined on the show today by the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management. And then we go out to the shores of Maine. Who knows what he does on the weekends on the dark and stormy shores? Probably fights for survival, if I had to guess. Where we are joined once again by the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. All right, gentlemen, get your hands on the buzzers. It is time to kick off our broadcast. Week in high style, it is time for a little bit of the old 80s Trivia Challenge. Here we go. All right, everybody, welcome to our Trivia Challenge. I probably should clarify for some of our newer listeners, these are not questions about the 80s. These are from a Trivial Pursuit set that was written in the 80s. So this is vintage, authentic Trivial Pursuit, listeners. The blue box, all the fun stuff you remember from 80s Trivial Pursuit. Our chat's saying they can't believe that Uncle Mike is behind. Yes, that is the case right now. We've had quite the resurgence over the last few episodes. A 1.5 point swing for the Rock Lobster. He is now leading 4 points to only 3 for Uncle Mike, and distant in the rearview mirror. He did only make one appearance after all. Is Mr. the black-hatted one himself, Mr. Dan Passarelli from Options Bootcamp fame. But that said, Mr. Uncle Mike, maybe now is your time to redeem yourself, sir. You are the loser so far in our challenge, so you get to pick the color. Where are we going today, sir?
Sports and leisure.
You're just gonna mainline that till you get it right, aren't you?
Yep.
All right. Even though I do see a fun one for green. Maybe if we need a tiebreaker or a bonus question, maybe we'll go there today. All right. Here we go. Get your hands on your buzzers, gentlemen. You folks in the chat, and if you're listening on the podcast, maybe play along as well. All right. What do the 5 Olympic rings represent? Oh, go for it, Andrew. Andrew's first.
The continents.
Yes. Well done.
Wow. I never knew that.
Rock Lobster. Wow, I got to mark down. More points for Andrew. My keyboard doesn't even want to register it. It is so surprised. 1 point for the continents.
Well, I believe now hell has truly frozen over and China will pay our tariffs, I believe.
There we go. There we go.
That could never happen.
I happened to see a green and it brought a smile to my face. This is just for no points, just a fun, silly question. How many times a day does a typical person go to the bathroom?
Buzz.
Go for it.
4.
Okay, 4. Mr. Rock Lobster, what do you say?
3.
3. Wow, you're very bunch of camels out there in the hinterland. No, 6.
6.
Wow. I mean, I hydrate pretty well, so I know that I'm definitely above 6 because I drink water all day.
Yeah, I was guessing 7 actually, but I mainline about massive gallons of water throughout the day because I'm talking all the time. So I'm probably a rare use case. But there you go, listeners. 6 times a day hitting the old pate. Is that you? Are you more? Are you less? Fascinating stuff we learn here on the show as we keep on rolling right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, let's dance. Time for the Trading Block, the portion of the show where we break down what the heck is trading out there. And you know what? If you were hearkening back to the old kind of whipsaw days of yore, and by of yore, I mean like a week and change ago, last week was kind of aberrant. We mostly trended up. We had a couple of days where there was a little bit of fluff, but for the most part, we were kind of moving in one direction. That was kind of rare. Pretty much for most of this year, we've been whipping and sawing quite a bit. If you were hearkening for some of that again, well, you're in luck today, listeners, because we're back in the old whippy and saw-y days. The day started off, it seemed like most of the major indices were trending in the green. We had a little bit of weakness in the NASDAQ. That was kind of the one lone exception earlier, so we were kind of mixed to start the day, but it seemed like we were modestly green to slightly red. As the session has progressed, that has now turned to the dark side. Darth Vader has reached out and force-gripped everyone to the dark side there, listeners. S&P now off nearly a full percent, about 0.95%, off about 51 handles on the day. The Dow off about 0.5%, and the NASDAQ off about 1 1/3%. Of course, we are coming into the start of Mag 7 earnings week, so that will be interesting. Of course, no one can give any guidance, so that kind of puts our earnings season right now into kind of some rarefied air. It kind of harkens back a little bit to the early days of the pandemic when no one could guide anything because no one knew what the hell was going on. So maybe we're in some of that, obviously with far less mass death going on in the background, which is a good thing for everybody. VIX also getting a little bit frothier and firming up right as we kicked off the show. In fact, not that long before showtime, we were at 25 3/4, which puts it down about 1.5 points, but we have ticked up to about 26 1/4 since we started doing the trivia, which gained another 0.5 point. So we're pretty much down about exactly a point from where we were on the Thursday show. And I'm sure if I re-racked VVIX right now, yes, that's what I thought. So we were at 103 right before showtime. Now we are up to a 106. So we were down 2. Now we are up 1 from the Thursday show. So Vol's starting to get a little bit frothier out there. Market's starting to get a little bit frothier. Again, is this just a little bit of a blow off before we take the next leg up? It does seem like we talked about this in the past, that 5,500 level, which is where we were north of this morning, 55.5 in S&P. It does seem like 5,500, at least in the near term, a little bit of some little bit of a ceiling for the market. We do see sellers kick in there, and at least we have a couple of times in the past. So maybe that's another technical level the market has to break through. You know me, I'm not a huge technician, but we have seen this play out a few times. Maybe it's just the next leg of it, or maybe just a pause, or maybe this is the downturn and the rally last week was the head fake. Let's go out to the winner currently of our trivia challenge. It does sound weird to say that. Mr. Rock Lobster. Mr. Rock Lobster, A, how are you so familiar with the rings of the Olympic symbol, sir? And then B, what's catching your eye in a return of the Whippy and Sawy, sir?
You know what? It's a random memory from the wide world of sports Olympic stuff from who knows how long ago. So it was just embedded in my brain. Now take that for what it's worth, but that's what it is.
Now, some hardcore historian might have said, "Oh, it's like the original 5 Greek city-states or something, right? You know, Sparta, Athens, whatever." But no.
Yeah, you know, it could have been. However, I think there was more than 5.
Oh, there definitely were, but maybe that was who started the games. Who knows?
Yeah, and then it's a little tricky because I do not believe there is an Antarctica in the Olympic rings.
Yes.
You know,
but no penguin representation. What are we doing?
So anyway, that was my big thing there, and I'm just going to enjoy this run. Just see what it feels like to be Tosaw for a while. Just, you know, just have a grand old time.
Just basking in the adulation that is Tosaw.
Yeah. You know, I mean, it's not too bad. You know, living large, I guess. Not too bad. So as far as the market goes, you know what? Doesn't today sound awfully quiet? This weekend, awfully quiet. Apparently, everybody is so busy in Washington trying to make trade deals now, they can't comment about anything. So I find that the market doesn't like it, although I think still the problem is earnings outlook. All the same problems still exist, you know, where are we going to go? The only thing I did see Trump say was the 2 ideas were we're going to replace the income tax with tariffs, which who knows if that's a bad idea or a good idea, but it would tax consumption and not income. I mean, the country lived on that for the first 125 years of its existence. And then
I love how now he's admitting at least that tariffs are a tax. He woke up to that economic reality at least.
Eventually he does. Eventually. Sometimes not, but you know, sometimes yes.
I know you say it's scary, but to me, whenever Washington shuts the hell up, I feel good. I think the market should rally. Washington's getting the hell out of the way.
I think the country does better when Washington doesn't talk.
Just shut the hell up. It's like I say with Fed governors, all these guys coming out there and venting their spleen. Shut the hell up. The Fed should speak with one voice, and that's Powell, and that's, you know, quarterly, and that's about it. Then shut the hell up.
Yeah, like once a month.
Yes.
You know,
at the most.
Things look okay. Rates are the same. Okay, not a problem. So ever since the Fed got active in government, you know, in policy, I'm going to blame the great financial crisis. I can blame it to even before that. I can blame it the first time there was the Mexican peso crisis in the early 90s, and Greenspan and Rubin and Clinton got together and they kind of did that first bailout.
Was that when Genius failed?
No, that's long-term capital.
Yep. Well, no, when Genius failed was 97. That's when that was
the Russian ruble, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had to bail out like Russian ruble and
yeah, that was long-term capital.
Provide liquidity to long-term capital, and they kind of diced and, you know, whatever. So the bottom line is the Fed has become very politicized. Again, since COVID. The big problem is the government spent so much money and got so drunk on spending an inordinate amount of money that anything just less than that, they think they're doing a good job. And it literally and for just the listeners out there, government spending went up like 55 or 60%, some insane number since 2020. So I don't know about anybody else, but all I know is the state of Maine is still getting a lot of federal COVID dollars keep coming in. Like, when is it going to end? So anyway, there's a lot of craziness going on. A lot of politicians keep thinking there's an endless amount of money coming from, who knows, the Fed, the Treasury, wherever. It's all borrowed. And that problem still exists. And that problem was the genesis of all of, I believe, this policy coming out of the current president. The last president basically ignored it. And this one is trying to do something, but nobody's really helping very much. So how it all goes down, I honestly couldn't tell you. Usually the U.S., because it's usually kind of figures out what's going on after a while. The bond market will eventually, I believe, and hopefully it doesn't come to that, but they will tell Congress how much they can spend. And, we have opined on this show for a few years now. Like, we thought always the spending was insane, and the kicking the can down the road, how many times have we said that? And now the can maybe, is getting a little heavy to kick. So we'll see how that plays out. But as of right now, I think corporate earnings are, doing a little better than people thought, at least for this quarter. But it's that forward guidance that just looks awful. You look at a company like Google now, great earnings, trading at 17 times earnings now. Google, 17 times earnings. And folks don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. So, Google is still showing some pretty, I would say, robust revenue and earnings growth. But nobody wants it because they don't know how AI is going to kind of savage their business. Nobody knows. So I think that's the active phrase. Like, nobody knows. Nobody knows. There's a lot of uncertainty. I think all of the highs from Doge saving $1 trillion have been dashed because basically nobody wants to do it. You got the Doge guys came in there trying to find ways to save money, all of this, and Congress has literally left the building, left town, has no interest in implementing any real savings. So until they're forced to do so, I think that's where we find ourselves. And I think this kind of seesaw market is going to continue. I think this range, 5,500 to 5,000 SPX, is a pretty good range until something improves one way or another.
Until something improves. Well, what's improving right now is the Rock Lobster's fortunes. We just had to get outside of the decade of the 80s, and suddenly the Rock Lobster is a savant. I even tried to give him a Bob Vila woodworking question. He couldn't do it. But the 5 rings of the Olympics, right. No problem for the Rock Lobster in this new incarnation. Maybe he's taking his ginkgo biloba over there. I don't know what it is. But this new and improved Rock Lobster, he's coming for you, Uncle Mike. You might have started doing some weekend studying. Bust out the old 80s almanac, sir. So Mr. Uncle Mike, I should say, I was in your hallowed halls this past weekend. I saw Skippies. I saw all the fun out there. I saw the hallowed halls of the Costco. So a beautiful little hamlet you do live in, sir. But what's catching your... First off, you have any thoughts on the Rock Lobster just taking you to the proverbial woodshed right now? And your plans for our live chat, our pro members are appalled, sir. They're appalled at your being just taken to the woodshed. And then B, what's catching your eye in a started out Uncle Mike type of day until I called my Facebook cabal and we turned it to the dark side, sir. So nana boo boo to you.
Oh, well, look at you. I was actually at Costco on Saturday. We may have crossed paths. And
I was there on Sunday, so I missed you by a day. Which, by the way, that place, I just drove by it. That place, a freaking madhouse on Sunday. Holy crap.
Yeah, you don't want to go there on the weekends if you can at all avoid it.
It is the one functional building in St. Charles. I guess everyone has to go there.
No, that is not the case. We are a thriving metropolis, and I don't know that place that you live. What's it called? Chicago. It's that small town on the lake, I think. But no, we're a thriving metropolis out here in St. Charles. I think you guys are a St. Charles suburb, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that the case?
I do believe that is the case, yes.
Yeah, I got it. So anyway, I mean, with regard to the rock lobster, it's getting so bad to where I can't even claim umbrage. It's like I tell my football players, don't play dirty. You just want to just beat the living tar out of them, and you do it with class. You knock them on their backs, and then you help them up. So that way they can't even say anything like, oh, he's dirty, he's this, that, or the other. I have just gotten steamrolled. I'm flat on my back, and I can't even claim umbrage. I don't know what to do. This is a position that I can't even say I'm unjustifiably in because I've been put there, and I just don't know what to do. So, I mean, I might change categories to, I just don't know. I mean, in the markets, I just don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah, he's beating you in orange. He's beating you in your chosen category, sir.
I know. I have to admit, continents being what the rings of the Olympics represent is something that I had never thought of. But with that, though, but don't we have 6 continents that people live on, though? Or isn't it 5 or is it 6? There's 5 or 6 Olympic
The number
rings?
kind of threw me off as well. I was thinking more historical, but yes, it is. Apparently, the rock lobster is down to their minimalist approach to continents there in the Olympics.
I believe Antarctica at the time only had penguins when they reinvented the Olympics. It was just a penguin habitat.
Can't penguins compete too? Why are we penguinist?
I guess
I
so.
believe we're what do you call that? We're anti-pen. We have penguinism.
We're penguinist.
Penguinism.
But are there 5 Olympic rings or 6 Olympic rings?
5, it said on my card. Maybe this is written in the 80s. Maybe they have adjusted it.
I think it's 5.
But then what other continent are they shafting then? Africa or Australia or?
Well, they're shafting Antarctica.
Right. Well, we have 7 continents: North, South America, Africa, Asia, Europe, and Australia, plus Antarctica.
Let's see here. North and South America, Africa, Asia, Europe. Yeah.
And Australia.
Well, I guess Australia, they weren't counting. They're just counting that as part of the British Empire back then.
Who really cares about the Aussies, right? I mean, there's obviously the Olympics don't.
Apparently not.
They decided boomerangs were not an official event, so they had to kick Aussie to the curb.
And they should be, by gosh. But anyway.
There's no kangaroo boxing in the Olympics.
There should be. Well, anyway, just looking at these markets today, we're having a little bit of a pullback. It was interesting. We were ahead going into the market. I think the S&P futures are up 10, 15 points, something like that pre-market. So sellers have definitely come in for the time being. Got some buyers in the VIX back above the 26 level, knocking on the door at 27. So can't say this is a major move either way, especially in recent times. This is just kind of a down day. A month ago, this would have seemed like a catastrophe that we were down 0.8%, but it doesn't really feel that way today. So we do have that happening. Just in terms of some individual names that I'm looking at. Taiwan Semiconductor is back down again. A couple others, the Nvidia watch. Nvidia is down 4% on the day, back to 106. Palantir is only down $1.50. So in the poll that we have of Nvidia versus Palantir, the Palantir people are winning so far. So we do have that. But aside from that, not seeing any real major moves in any individual names that I'm looking at this point. It's interesting in that I like the way Andrew describes it, in that if we just spend a little bit less than the spend that we had in COVID, Congress seems to think that they're doing well. And Congress does not get awarded for balanced budgets. So in other words, Congress can spend all they want, and then they can point the blame on the president. Now, I'm not trying to pick a political side here, because let's face it, Republicans borrow and spend, Democrats tax and spend. That's the way it is. But the common denominator to all this is spending. And so I think it would be interesting to see if we could cut spending enough to just have a functioning government off of just the tariffs. because I don't see it happening. I don't think we could function unless we had a even greater deficit. I don't know if we could tariff the world enough to replace the income tax. I'd be interested to see any plans on that, but I'm not sure if that would be the case. And I don't know if if that would work well for the people that don't consume as much but really need the money. I'm not sure, but interesting to see nonetheless. I'll be curious to see where that goes with everything. Now, it is earnings. We do have a lot of earnings coming up in the near future, so I think the market could take a major turn to the upside or the downside in the near future, but we will see.
We shall see indeed. What is going on in these markets today, listeners? Are they bangers? We're back to the old whipping and sawing, which usually equates to a little bit of action. Now, that said, we weren't in the epic whipsaws like we saw a few weeks ago, where we were up 100 handles in the morning and back down 100 handles in the afternoon. Nothing crazy like that, 150, 200 point intraday ranges by the time we started the show. But we did see a little bit of green. Now we're seeing mostly red. So that usually drums up a little bit of action. And VIX could care less right now, listeners. 227 on the tape. The ADV 1.07 million contracts. If you're wondering what is the big dog, such as it is out there, listeners, it is 23,600 of the May 30 calls, listeners, trading for $1.32 today. So interesting prices out there, and some more around $1.30 out there. So are you a buyer? Looks like someone bought these. Are you a buyer of the May 30 calls in VIX for $1.30? Well, then get in line, because 23,600 going up ahead of you today. Number 2, we got the May 20 puts, 13,700 of those bad boys. Looks like they traded for prices around 50 cents. So are you a buyer of those, a seller of those? Might be a fun little flash poll to put out there a little bit later. But VIX right now, 1.07 million. So the ADV managing to hang in there, even though we're not seeing the same volume numbers over the past week that we had in the previous weeks. But again, the week is young, the day is young. Who knows what the next tweet will bring? Off to SPY. Now, again, these numbers are eerily dissonant. You look at this SPY number, 6.25 million right now already. You'd say, okay, VIX has got to be roaring out of the gate as well, at least 400,000, maybe 500,000, and it's not. So we're seeing these odd disconnects lately between VIX and SPY. 6.25 million on the tape for SPY, the ADV 11.3 million. Our old pal SPX also looking fairly robust, closing in on 2 million contracts. So a decently active day, over halfway to its ADV, which is a little bit shy of 4 million contracts a day. So, yeah, again, an odd disconnect between the SPX, which is where VIX is coming from at the end of the day, and VIX itself. So, yeah, weird stuff out there. We'll keep an eye on it as we keep on rolling out to small caps. 892 on the docket for good old small caps. Let's go check in on our friends IWM really quickly. IWM off about 0.8% today as well. So kind of moving in lockstep with the markets today, when usually IWM kind of doing its own thing. Today it's decided I'm going to hang out with the rest of the big kids, off nearly 1% itself. The ADV about 1.72 million. So small caps right about in line with halfway to their ADV as well. And bringing up the rear today, we've got our old pal, the Qs. QQQ hanging out right now, a little bit shy of 3 million contracts, 2.96 million listeners. The ADV, a little bit shy of 4.9 million. So as the Qs are wont to do, they get more than halfway there in the first half of the session, and they kind of take it easier the second half. So we'll see what's going on later today out there in the Qs. Let's move on to the single names. Is it a banger? Is it hot? Is it spicy? The answer is no. Everyone's keeping their powder dry ahead of the numbers from the big names and tech this week, listeners. Number 10, Meta, only cost you 190,000 contracts to break into the top 10 right now. That is impressively low, listeners. We haven't been that low in quite some time when we get to this part of the show. Usually we're at least 230, 240. So yeah, 190 is kind of light. That gets us, again, to our old pal Meta, off a little over $3 or about 0.5%, trading 544 even, just ticked right now, listeners. Again, Meta kind of in gentle drift mode until we see some more indications from the big tech names this week. Number 9, 209 on the tape for the Amazonians, 185 1/3, off about 3 2/3 or nearly 2%. So they're also turning to the dark side a little bit today, but still over the last 5 days, they still have had a good run. They're still up 15 and a quarter handles, or nearly 9%. In fact, let's do that same analysis for Meta right now to see over the last 5 days. Yeah, they're up 52 handles, or nearly 11%, even with today's sell-off. So again, they have $3 to give back if they've made 50 plus in the last 5 days. Number 9, the Amazonians, 209 on the tape. Number 8, the Monster. Is it getting monstrous or getting a little bit smaller today? The answer is the latter. 358 and a third, off about 10 and a third, or nearly 3%. For the Monster, it is number 8, 211. Again, over the last 5 days, though, this one also on the rampage. It was 328 last Tuesday, so it's up 30 handles almost exactly from that level, even given back the 10 or so handles that it's given back today. Number 8, the Monster, 211. Number 7, the one the Rock Lobster is interested in, good old Alphabet Class A, 216. Again, we're all the way at number 7, listeners, only at 216. So this is kind of midsummer numbers. Again, everyone clearly keeping their powder dry ahead of some of the numbers we're getting later this week. 158 and 2/3, off about 3 1/3, or about exactly 2%. For good old Alphabet, and over the past 5 days, they're up nearly 10 handles, I should say, 9 2/3 handles, about 6.5%. So they're still up even after giving back about 3 1/4 today. Number 6, the Fruit Company, 208.40, off about 90 cents, so not even a full dollar to the downside. Over the last 5 days, you know, they're up about 12 1/4, or about 6 1/4%. So a lot of these names, if you're feeling a little bit spooked right now, a lot of these names have something to give up. And number 6 is Apple, all the way at number 6, and we're just at barely 250,000 contracts. So again, a weirdly light day. Number 5, Intel. This name, it's on again, it's off again, it's great. It's a dumpster fire. Today, it's in the modest upside day. Number 5, 287 on the tape. 20 1/4, up about 1/4, or not even a full percent today. Over the last 5 days, Intel is up $1.16. So they're up a little over 6% over the last 5 days. Number 5, good old Intel. And since they're all the way in our stomping grounds, let's just look really quickly. Let's just see what is the hot trade in good old Intel right now, listeners. If you guessed, it was the May 21s. Again, the stock 20 1/4, the May 21s trading almost 31,000 times today, and you are the winner chicken dinner, trading at prices around 55 cents. Seems like the lion's share of them, some as high as 60 or so. So are you a buyer or a seller? May 20. Oh, these are the May expiring on the 2nd this week. Interesting, especially given the fact that we don't have earnings again until July 31st. Not an earnings play, just some very near-dated call paper. Interesting. That might be a fun little flash poll for you folks as well. Are you a buyer or a seller of the May 21 calls in Intel for 55 cents? Expiring this Friday. Hit us up, let us know. Number 4. Uncle Mike was just talking about them. Palantir, all the way at number 4, listeners. Only $4.90 on the tape for Palantir. 111 1/4, off about $1.50. You know it's up size over the last 5 days. It was up 18 1/4 over the past 5 days. So yeah, it's done pretty well, up nearly 20%. It's up, it's down, it's Palantir, number 4, $4.90. Number 3, SoFi, managing to buck the trend. It's still up on the day, up only 6 cents, but it is up, unlike a lot of the other names they're talking about. $12.97 is where it's trading right now, so just shy of $13. Over the last 5 days, it's up $2.10, or about 19 1/3%. So again, a good run for SoFi, even if they're not even giving any back today. They're only up a modest 6 cents. 5.55 on the tape for SoFi. Number 2. Yes, I said number 2. They're giving some back today. It's Nvidia, 106 1/3, off 4 3/4, or about 4 1/4%. Over the last 5 days, though, they are up 7.5 handles still. 5 days ago, they were 98.88, so below the par strike. Which, again, we asked you, would you be a seller or a buyer of those par puts in decent Nvidia? Most of you wanted to sell them, but nonetheless, intriguing stuff out here for Nvidia. That means what could possibly be the number 1 name on our list? You can probably guess what it is, listeners. If it ain't Nvidia, guess what? It's the old Tesla, 277.5, off 7.5, or about 2.6%. Putting up about 2.2 million contracts today. Over the last 5 days, though, they've been on rally ho mode ever since Musk said, I'm coming back. 45 handles to the upside over the past 5 days. Of course, all the problems that were plaguing it still there. That's not going to change, but apparently that's enough to give themselves nearly 50 handles. The Tesla bulls don't need much. That's all it took out there. Number one, Tesla 2.2. I will admit, I saw a lot more just driving around the wild this weekend, heading out to St. Charles and others. A lot more Rivians in the wild. I know some of them are made in Illinois, so that could be a factor. And also some more Lucids in the wild. You never see Lucids floating around. So kind of interesting to see the Tesla competitors making a bit of an anecdotal resurgence. Also saw a Tesla going by. It had the regular Tesla, and then it had a bumper sticker on the end of it next to it. It had Elon with a line through it. So it was kind of like, please don't key my car. I thought that was a funny approach out there. So interesting stuff going on right now in the EV space. Are you a bull here at Tesla again? Are you fading the heck out of that name? I know a lot of people in our pro have been hanging out, enjoying some of the premiums they're getting in some of those Tesla catastrophe puts. Yeah, they're back again, listeners. Might have to start talking about those on the show here again. Earnings, like we said, a hot week this week. Today, Domino's, a pizza. I think they came out already, and I don't think they were that great. Tomorrow, we've got SoFi, we've got JetBlue, we've got Coca-Cola, we've got Visa and Starbucks. Spoiler alert, coffee's still expensive, listeners. Probably going to weigh on Starbucks. Listen to the futures rundown every week if you're curious. Wednesday, Caterpillar, Microsoft, Meta. So if you like your big M tech names, Wednesday is your Huckleberry. Robinhood as well. So we have Roblox today, Eli Lilly, MasterCard, and Sirius, and Mickey D's, and Shake Shack, and the Amazonians, and the Apples, and the Airbnbs. So again, if you like your A-Tech names, you come in to the dance on Thursday. And then Friday, a little bit of Exxon Mobil and Chevron. And just for good measure, listeners, let's go a little bit of Wendy's as well. As we keep on rolling, listeners, it's time to get weird. It's time to get wild. If you want to see all these reports for yourselves, which luckily for you are hot off the presses from our friends over there at Orach, check it out on the website. Right now, let me get to the season really quickly. All right, where are we hanging out right now? Again, only 178 names have reported so far, so hard to read too much into this so far. But right now, week one, an apocalyptic 61%. So that's no bueno, listeners. Week two, starting to make up for it, 104% with the names we have reporting so far. So we'll see. This week's a hot one. Right now, we're hanging out at 95%. We haven't been below 100% in quite some time, probably nigh on a year. So interesting stuff, especially when you look and see our long-term average is now hanging out at 120%. So it gets spicier every cycle, listeners. Can this finally be the cycle that undoes it? I guess we'll find out. If you want to see those reports for yourselves, we give them to you for free because we like you. TheOptionsInsider.com is the place to go. Meanwhile, we got to get on out of here and into the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by TheOptionsInsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
All right, listeners, welcome to the Odd Block. And never let it be said, you know, the Rock Lobster, he jokes, he calls me the benevolent dictator. I dictate everything that goes on the network. Never let it be said, though, that I am not a man of the people, because we had a bunch of activity prepared. But you know what? Our pro chat throws us a curveball, but that's what they're here for at the end of the day. They're all fired up about our old pal Stone Co., a.k.a. STNE. Mr. Rock Lobster, do you remember our old pal Stone Cold, sir?
Oh, I was so happy with myself. I thought Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yes, exactly. That's why we had fun with it, because it was Stone Cold.
Oh, man, this is just a crazy day today. It just keeps getting crazier.
So our chat asked us, they said they saw some paper out there. Could we once again possibly talk about Stone Cold? So you know what? Ask and you shall receive. Ladies and gents, Stone Co. hanging out right now. Again, ticker symbol STNE. It's not technically Stone Cold, listeners. We just call it that. It's Stone Co. if you're playing the home game. Trading 1406, up about a third of a buck today, or 2.25%. So a decent little day here for Stone Cold. On the year, hasn't been a banger. Off 214, about 13%. It got up to 16.19 a year ago, but they are off their lows. They're impressively off their lows. They started the year pretty much in the toilet, 7.75. So they have nearly doubled since the start of the year. Yeah, they're up about 75% just year to date. So a good little start to the year for Stone Cold, unlike just about every other name seems like we talk about out there these days. So yeah, Stone Cold having a bit of a resurgence. And it seems like, Mr. Rock Lobster, according to our listeners, and yeah, we did see this as well, the little bit of long-term call love. Looks like somebody thinks the fix is back in Stone Cold, and they're not only going to continue this impressive trajectory they've been on so far this year, but going to keep it rolling past the 18 handle, because they came in this morning and said, Dees, all the way out to Dees 75s, how are they? They got 75 cents at $1.10, so decently wide, but it is December Stone Cold, listeners. They said, you know, I'll pay $1.05 3,500 times with the stock pretty much exactly right here. And that's about a 47 vol. Obviously, they're going to get earnings between now and December. The next announcement is coming up on the 8th. So we'll know fairly soon whether these calls are trending in the right direction or not. But obviously, they bought some duration. It's a fair ways out of the money. I mean, they got to get back to their 52-week high is 1709. So they got to really kiss a 19 handle to make these bad boys really work out, or at least start threatening an 18 handle pretty soon otherwise. So that's a bit of a lift. I don't know, Mr. Rock Lobster, you down for a little 18 handle calls in December in our old pal Stone Co? Or if you could sell the offer, would you be more of a overrider of these, sir?
I was trying to figure like it looks like some kind of outside the US based software electronic payments platform thing. Founded in the Cayman Islands by Andre Street de Aguiar, maybe A-G-U-I, anyway. So interesting. Nothing like a company you don't know anything about. Apparently it looks like it does all this kind of payment processing somehow outside the US. So I don't know, you could have a story there. It was a $90 stock in 2021. So again, I don't think December is a bad time frame for what they're trying to do, the 18s. Again, I don't think it's an unreasonable purchase for that duration. The 15s are $2 though, I would say that. So, you know, they'd probably be worth $4 by the time those calls were maybe, yeah. So, again, it does not thrill me, but I don't think they're buying a lot of duration. I don't think it's terrible. They're betting on a little offshore turnaround, basically.
Yeah, I like the duration as well. It's probably the only thing I really like about it. The level and everything else, that needs to really. It's got to stay on this trajectory for the rest of the year, really, this explosive trajectory it's been on to really, it's got to make a new 52-week high. And that could be a heavy lift for Stone Cold. They've had a bit of a rough run outside of the start of this year. So I don't know if I like the strike, but maybe the duration, you talk about the 15s, obviously it's twice as much money. So you got to be okay with that, but that's probably maybe a little bit better due, as the kids say. You could write something against it to the upside if you wanted to do that instead. So there are other ways maybe I would probably prefer. If you only want to spend $1, if the 15s are $2 and the 18s are $1, you could go that way, sir. Spend $1, a little bit higher probability. So there's ways you could carve that onion up that I probably would like better. But I love the fact that our chat is diving in and going back to the halcyon days of the option block with a little bit of Stone Cold. Have you been slinging any Stone Cold? You like these DS18s? Duration, I'm with you. Strike, I don't know. So I might need to be convinced on that. But interesting stuff out here. One of the trades we were actually going to talk about today, just a mega call palooza out here. Even a blind squirrel could see this one, listeners. This is Springworks Therapeutics, Inc. Ticker symbol SWTX, trading 46.18, up about $1.50 or 3.25% today. A year ago, they were 46.5, so they've kind of literally unched. They did sell off in October of last year to 28.25, so they've had a nice run from there, even though they did rally in the heady days of Valentine's Day to about 61.75. So So that was their 52-week high. So they have sold off from there. But let's see, they got as low recently just last week as 34.5. So now they're up to $46. So a nice little run for them. What's going on? Looks like we got some M&A going on here, listeners. Merck is going to buy them in nearly a $4 billion deal, which is probably what explains this massive print we have going up out here today, listener. You first notice 5,000 of the July 50s, 5-0s. Again, we're hanging out 46.18, going up for 15 cents. And then we saw a few minutes later, 5,000 more, and then 5,000 more, and then 5,000 more. Like clockwork, 15 cents, all of them. So they're not moving this market, which is also interesting. They got some size to go, obviously, at 15 cents. The market makers, they don't mind selling these. That's also an indication maybe something's afoot. And clearly it is this M&A deal. The total of 53,000 of these going up. So in hindsight, that looks like probably something obviously tied to this deal. Maybe a bit of this name's going to be in play. Maybe it's going to pop. Maybe this is some merger arb flow and they're buying these calls as a fairly cheap hedge in case this thing going gonzo between now and July expiration. Mr. Rock Lobster, pretty sizable print. Did you notice these sizable SWTX July 50s going up, sir?
It does feel like a higher takeover price is going to happen. So that is 6 million shares. Yeah, I mean, it could, that's what it appears to be, at least right now. Somebody thinks that there's going to be a higher takeover price, maybe a hedge. I don't know, but whoever's selling them thinks it's free money at this point. So if they're probably some kind of fund, a biotech fund that's holding the stock, and like, hey, how's about getting an extra 15 cents 60,000 times? What the heck? That's what it appears, but somebody thinks something's going to happen. It'll be interesting to see what the Flowmaster says about these on Thursday.
Yeah, that's almost more interesting to me, not the size that they're buying, but the fact that offer hasn't budged. They're like, we got more at 15 cents.
You can have more.
Yeah. So clearly someone is not concerned about this thing blowing past the 50 handle, which is kind of interesting. Kind of interesting out there, listeners. Are you down with these 15 cents? Let us know as we keep on rolling. It is time to unleash the beast. That is Uncle Mike. Can he make up for his earlier performance? Let's find out. It is time for the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the strategy block.
All right, Uncle Mike, we can now hold court on the symbolism of the Olympics and debate some continents. Let's go.
Well, thankfully, performance in the trivia challenge does not correlate to performance in markets or business or life in general. Otherwise, Andrew would be still be shaking a cup out on Wacker Drive right now. But with that being said, and thankfully, just based on my recent poor performance, I'm very thankful for that. In fact, it would kind of be inverse based on the success Andrew has with his trading. Good in trading, not so good in 80s wrestling trivia. With that being said,
my Waterloo.
Yes. With that being said, if you've been looking for an opportunity to maybe trim something or take some money off the table over the course of the last year or so, and you don't necessarily want to take on any capital gains, now may be an opportunity for you. So in other words, if you look at the performance of the S&P 500 over the course of the last month, we're not back to where we were, but we're far off of our lows. So where I'm going with this is that when we were at our lows on April 7th, we had an S&P down at 48.35. We're up well over 10% from that level at this stage. But let's say that maybe about a month ago, or maybe in March, or maybe even in mid-February when we were at all-time highs, you're thinking, I'd like to take something off the table. Maybe I should buy some puts. I don't know. Well, you kind of have an opportunity now if you don't want to do it at the near-term lows. Now, of course, there's the risk of the market going higher, and you might burn some money on those puts. Who knows? But you might be getting your opportunity, because in early April, we had a VIX that was above 50. Now, the VIX is half of that. And so because of that, not exactly half, but it's at 26.29, not half of 50. But what we do have now is an opportunity to potentially buy some type of protection at a lesser price. Now, let's say that you have some stocks that you feel correlate with the S&P 500 or the Russell or the NASDAQ 100, whatever index you want to choose, but you don't necessarily, or it's just not feasible to buy put options on your individual holdings. Well, I would consider taking a look at some index put options if that's what you're looking to do. Typically, index put options cost less money, and if we do have an index breakdown, then you could benefit from having that protection in place. Now, of course, there is the idiosyncratic risk that exists in that if your stocks go down, the market might not, or the index might not go down, and you essentially wasted your money on the puts. That is a risk. But if you do feel that your stock holdings can correlate to an index on a downward move, it is something with which to consider. And of course, you don't have to necessarily just buy straight puts. You can do put spreads, butterflies perhaps, although I'm not much of a fan of butterflies for hedging, sell some call spreads, something along those lines, whatever floats your boat. So with that being said, my message of the day is that markets are not at their all-time highs anymore, but they're pretty far off of the recent pullback of a few weeks ago. If you're looking to get some type of protection, now might be a time to consider it. And if you think it's too expensive to buy it on the individual names, indexes may be something to consider as well. Back to you, Mark.
All right, listeners, now it's time to keep going around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, listeners, let's keep rolling. By the way, it's like our chat likes some of those SWTX calls. They're buying some of them. Are you taking a nibble, listeners? 15 cents? I mean, it's not an expensive nibble. If this deal goes crazy, some other bidders come in. Again, I haven't looked at the terms. I just saw this flow coming across my desk now. So kind of interesting that the market on those calls hasn't budged. That always gives me a little bit of hesitancy. Clearly, the market makers are okay letting 50,000+ of these go for 15 cents without they're not even at 20. Nope, they're still at 15. So I'm sure they'd be a dime at 20, but they're not. So interesting. Yeah, so that maybe gives me some pause. But it's a cheap flyer if you think this deal could go haywire between now and July expiration. Again, I have to go dig in and check it out for myself. Speaking of what you folks thought, we have just wrapped up. We put it, I think we went live on our Thursday show last week. We had to go through the weekend. It was our flash poll. Both Palantir and Nvidia, both trading for 106, listeners, when we posted this last week. As Uncle Mike alluded to, we clearly have a winner, at least for right now. Now, you got to hold them through the end of the year. That was part of our condition again. Nvidia back about 106.90 and Palantir 112.40. So Palantir is the winner right now. But our audience, this one was going hot and heavy. At the end of the day, you literally could not make up your mind. It went out exactly 50-50. I don't think we've ever seen that before with some of our polls. Usually it'll be 50.01, 49.9, something like that. Nope, 50% exactly Palantir and Nvidia. So you don't know which one, gun to your head, you want to choose. Half of you want one, half of you want the other. I guess that's what makes a market. So fascinating stuff out there. And in terms of where we're hanging out towards the end of the show, we're pretty much in the similar level. S&P off about 2/3%. The NASDAQ off about a full 1%. And the Dow off about 1/4%. So mitigating some of that sell-off in the S&P and the Dow, not so much in the NASDAQ. And VIX cash around 26 2/3. So actually getting a little bit spicier than it was at the start of the show. Mr. Rock Lobster, what are you keeping an eye on for the rest of the week? And where should folks go if they want more Rock Lobster goodness, sir?
For the rest of the week, I want to see how the earnings play out. We got some big tech coming. There's 7.6 million open jobs in the U.S. Just think of what would change if all those jobs got filled. So there's plenty of reasons to be hopeful and potentially bullish. So again, we'll see. I believe we have a little Fed this week. I was just looking at some economic numbers. Nothing. We got non-farm payroll number, and we got some GDP. But I'm really earnings and guidance. I think the guidance is still going to be terrible, but probably a buying opportunity this week. I'm just saying it here, saying it now.
And if folks want more rock lobster goodness, where should they go? What should they do?
Oh, yeah. Go to OptionPit.com. All my services, OptionPit.com. Earn while you learn. It's tons of fun.
Earn while you learn, indeed. And Mr. Uncle Mike, same question for you, sir. What are you keeping an eye on for the rest of this week? And where should folks go if they want more Uncle Mike goodness in their lives outside of the St. Charles Costco, which he can be found most days, listeners?
Exactly. Watching earnings, of course, watching Twitter, of course, in terms of seeing what tweets come out. And then, of course, watching bonds. They're going to tell the real story with a lot of things. If you would like to have a conversation with a financial advisor who actually does stuff, feel free to reach out to me. Go to stcharleswealth.com and set up an appointment with me. Would love to have a conversation with any of our listeners.
Check him out, stcharleswealth.com. If you're lucky, listeners, he'll treat you to a hot dog and a soda over there in the Costco food court. Delicious stuff, if I do say so myself. That is going to do it for us on the old OB. If you're hanging out in the Pro, and they are still, looks like, debating those Stone Cold. Might have to put those out as a flash poll as well. Are you a buyer or a seller of those bad boys for 15 cents, as the kids say? Looks like there's more to go if you want some. Check it out over there. Speaking of checking things out, we'll be back in a little bit with our good buddy, Mr. Greg Magadini. I saw some comments about Shiba and others. We'll get into all that fun. You know, Greg's got thoughts. We'll get into all that fun in a little bit on the crypto rundown. If you're hanging out in the Pro, just hang out. We'll be back in a little bit with Mr. Greg. If you're not in the Pro, what are you doing? You're missing out on a fun time. And the clock is ticking for the April Pro Trading Crate. Only one place to get your hands on that, the optionsinsider.com/pro. You can also drive the show. Send in your suggestions like they did today, listeners. It's a fun time over there on the Pro. Back again in a little bit for the crypto rundown. And then we got some fun stuff popping off tomorrow. Won't be for live consumption, but we are, let's just say, some plans are in the offing for the future that I think will intrigue a lot of our listeners. So stay tuned for that. Wednesday, of course, the doubleheader of the futures rundown and good old OBC. And then back again on Thursday, Flowmaster in hand, a little bit of the old option block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.